Good morning. Hey Val, hey JMB, hey BL. How is everyone doing today? Friday, end of the week. Looking at some retracements across the markets right now. If you are on the session, and if you guys hear me okay, see me all right, leave a message, let me know. Give it a couple of moments before we get started. Hey Spiros, I am feeling a lot better, a lot better. Not as nasally, but still right on the edge. Hope you guys are well. Thanks for that, Bill. Thank you. Any trades? Anyone got into any interesting trades? I haven't had any trades for the whole day. Just been looking at prices retrace slightly. So just been sitting there waiting. We might have a couple of old names up there, but hope you guys found it all right. Hey Lydia, how you doing? Here with a quick request on a pound Kiwi dollar. We'll look at that shortly. Good afternoon, good morning. Hey Edson. Hey Neugap, good to see you. Welcome aboard. A lot of new names, so very good to see all the new names. Good to have you guys here with us. For the new, and if you're new to the session, do let me know where are you joining from. Love to find out. Right, one more minute before we get started. Just hang on in there. Lydia, I'm doing well. I'm getting better. Not as got a cold over a couple of days, so getting better. Hope you are well too. Right. One couple more minute more and we'll get started. Interested to sell on the pound Kiwi. We'll do that. We'll have a look at that shortly. Alrighty, let's get started. So again, we are on Friday, the 26th of May, end of the week heading into the weekend. So what typically happens is we see prices after a big move over through the week, we do tend to see some retracements into the as we head into the weekend. So that's something we'll look into later during the session. For those of you who are new to the session, a big welcome. Thank you for joining us on this daily market analysis, which I've been doing for the last couple of months now already. 3 p.m. every day, GMT +8, Monday to Fridays. So do mark your calendars, block out the timing, make sure you join and become a regular. For all the regulars, good to have you here with us. Good to have you as a regular. So as usual, before, during the session, if you have any questions, do put it into the chat. Let me know. Spiros has jumped ahead and asked for the pound Kiwi dollar, so we'll do that. Any questions about trade ideas or any particular pairs that you'd like me to look into, do put it into the chat. Let me know. If you find this session useful to your own trading journey, do help me out. Click that rocket ship button on TradingView. Click that thumbs up button on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe as well. Okay. Um, hello. Hola, good to see you. And hi, Jamil, good to see you too. UK swing trader, hi, good to have someone from Scotland. I think you're my first Scottish viewer from Scotland, so good to have you there. And Lydia with the Euro yen and pound yen request. I got that. Once I saw Lydia turn up, I knew it's Euro yen and pound yen. We'll get through that. Okay, so what we'll do during this daily market analysis is we will be looking at the fundamentals, looking at the news. We do have the core PCE price index for the US to be released later tonight, GMT +8. So that's possibly going to cause some price volatility. With that, we also look at the technicals in terms of where price currently is. Is it reacting to any particular key levels? Combining the fundamentals and the technicals, we look for some possible trade setups, right? And when we talk about trade setups, the disclaimer applies is that any information contained on this webinar should not be construed as advice and is presented as educational material only. Please do your own due diligence before you enter any trades, because the contents of this webinar is not intended to be a recommendation to trade a financial product. Your objectives, financial situation, and needs have not been considered, and you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances. Okay, so with that, I do anticipate as well that this might be a bit of a short and sharp session, just because looking at the way price is moving might not be super interesting with not a lot to talk about as well, right? We are heading, it is the 26th of May, so we are heading towards the deadline, the 1st of June deadline for the US debt ceiling crisis, right? Is the US going to default on their debt? It seems unlikely. It's never happened before. It seems unlikely, but it is getting very close to the crunch time. Shared briefly about the debt ceiling in 2011 on the session yesterday. So I'm still doing up the info for you guys on what we could look out for this time around. Okay. With that, looking at the news from yesterday, good morning, snowflakes. Good to see you. All right, looking at the news from yesterday, the US preliminary GDP quarter on quarter was a little bit higher than previous and expected at 1.3%. It was 1.1, expected 1.1. I was anticipating that it would stay at 1.1. So at 1.3, it's still in line with what we kind of expected for that dollar strength to continue. Unemployment claims on a weekly number was at 229K, slight decrease. It was 242, got revised down to 225. Expected 249, came out at 229. Right? So unemployment claims, because it is a weekly number, I don't place too much emphasis on that data in particular. Okay? So what we actually saw last night in terms of maybe a little bit because of the GDP number for the US, but mostly because of the trend of the dollar index, the discussions on the debt ceiling, right? As the debt ceiling discussion continues on, there is a slight shift towards reserve. There is a slight shift towards reserve. And however much as the debt ceiling is caused by the US debt ceiling crisis is caused by the US or caused in the US, the flight toward reserve still drives capital, still drives funds towards reserve currencies, and the US dollar is one of those reserve currencies. That's why we are actually seeing some strength on the dollar despite this uncertainty and despite this debt ceiling crisis. Okay, so what we actually saw last night on the dollar index was that at 8 p.m. this was the news, right? We saw slightly stronger than expected GDP. So the dollar index push up from this 104 level up as high as 104.31 before retracing back down again. So we were anticipating that it's going to fluctuate within this area. It kind of did that before pushing up. At this point now, we are probably thinking that it's retraced since early this morning. It's retraced back down, came down to 104. We were highlighting this in the community as well, in the trading community. Now that it's come to 104, seems like it's found that round number support and looks like it might bounce back up again. Okay, again, back to the news with what we have today. Not a lot of news in the lead up to this session. At 8:30 p.m. GMT plus 8, we do have the US core PCE price index to be released. It was 0.3%. It is expected 0.3%. This is a month-to-month number. I don't anticipate that we're going to see a big change in this number. It might stay at 0.3. I wouldn't rule out the chance that it could be at a 0.2% as well. Okay, so ultimately, I do think that we might see some continual upside to the dollar index, but it is a little bit toppish right now. I think that it's going to trade within the range, right? I'll show you more on the charts. With that, after the core PCE price index, we do have the UOM consumer sentiment was 57.7, expected 58.2. You see that it hasn't been too flash recently, so I think that it might stay around that 57 range, ending off the trading week with some some cap on the upside for the dollar index. Okay, but ultimately what you should notice here is that we don't have a lot of news drivers to push price apart from the core PCE price index. Good morning, Goju. And also, as I forgot, if you are new to the session, the link is there. Do make sure you join the trading community. It is free to join, and it is where we can take our discussions beyond this session. Through the day, we can be looking at possible trade setups, sharing with you trade setups. Well, you can also share your own trade setups with the group, using it as a bit of a sounding board, whether it makes sense, and also just helping everyone else trade better, trade more profitably, trade more consistently. Okay, so now looking at the dollar index, just as we have been talking, new hour showed some upside, now retraced back down to this 104 region, right? Retraced back down to this 104. Looking at this, right, and thinking, right, you can see that 23.6 at this 23.6 fib retracement level coincides very nicely to this 104 price level. And then 38.2 right down just below this upward trend line. So I would possibly be thinking that the dollar index could retrace down, test this trend line, and then bounce back up again. With no major news events, I don't think that we're going to see the DXY trade up to this 104.50 level. I think that reasonably we could just see it trade towards that previous high of 104.30, right? Especially being a Friday, we could just see that move and it'd be quite reasonable. So could come down, break to this trend line or test along 104 to bounce back up. I think that as a point to note, we'll consider that dollar index could consolidate along 104 with upside to 104.30. There we go. Okay, still looking for that upside. I wouldn't be very keen. So if the dollar index If the dollar index does break this trend line and have a big correction to the downside, I would probably hold off on a lot of my trades for today, just because it is end of the week. If it does retrace strongly, I'll wait for that retracement to complete before looking for any potential upside again. Okay, so only looking for the upside potential. Good morning, Angel Case. So with that said about the dollar index, then let's look at the other major currency pairs. First up is the Kiwi dollar, right? First up is the Kiwi dollar. Yesterday, when we were talking about this, we were saying that it could, so this was at 3 p.m., we say it could trace up to 0.61 before turning back down again. It did trace up slightly, right, to 6096 before turning down again, right? So you could have entered that trade there, would have traded down to about 40 pips to the downside before now retracing back up again. I do know that a couple of you did get onto this Kiwi dollar trade. So if you did, put it into the chat, let me know. I'm always very keen to, obviously very happy to see that people have taken action on some of the analysis that we do. With the Kiwi dollar now at 0.6074 or 75, looking at the way the dollar index is consolidating, I would think that it could move quite similar to what we saw yesterday at about the same time, right? What I mean by that is I would be looking for it to trade up to this was support, now turned resistance, that way, now turned resistance level. Okay, I'll take one of this away because it is just that level there. So 0.61 as a resistance level. I want to see that trade up to this resistance level, and if it does show a rejection of this resistance, then we would be anticipating some downside potential. If it breaks up and trades higher, I would hold off again, as I was saying earlier, because as we look at the Kiwi dollar, big downside move, right? Since early this week, it was at 0.63, right now down to 0.6, went as low as 0.6045, now retracing. It might retrace a little bit more. I don't think you'll get up to 50%, so I'm looking at it at that 23.6, 0.61 for the rejection to the downside. Good morning, M Leader. Good morning, Angel Case. Happy Friday, UK holiday Monday. Oh, it's a holiday in UK on Monday. Right. Okay, so on the Kiwi dollar, I would say that if it shows a rejection, 6095, again, very tight stop loss at this point, 20 pips stop loss. You could go for a 50 pip take profit. You could go for a 60 pip to the downside. I think a 50 to that equal low would be reasonable. Okay, so in this case, Kiwi dollar sell 6095, stop loss 20, take profit 50. I wouldn't say it's a quick trade. Does need to show some retracement and then a rejection for the downside. So it's a bit of a patience game. I think for today, it will be mostly a patience game. Okay, so that's the Kiwi dollar on H1 time frame. I'm looking for it, and it's showing some upside potential to test and reject. Onto the Aussie dollar. This was a trade that I got into as well. We were looking for it to either trade up, test at 23.6 before turning back down. It didn't do that, but it did actually trade straight down, right? Right after our session, 4 p.m. yesterday, it went straight down towards that support level of 0.65, a very crucial support level there. So that was about a 20-something pip move to the downside. So a very crucial support level, round number of 0.65. You can see that it came right down, tested early this morning, looked like it was breaking down, but I think it grabbed a little bit of liquidity there before now pushing back up again. So that was a trade I got into. I don't think many of you did get into the Aussie dollar. Then dragging the fib retracement 2 down, it looks like it's coming up towards this 23.6 level with the momentum. At this point in time, I think that we could see this break above. I don't think it'll get past 50. So we could see the Aussie dollar trade up to that 38.2 region or that resistance of 6567. If I went down a little bit, 6560. Yeah, about 6560, 6567. 6565 would be reasonable. Just checking right across. It still makes sense here. So I think it could come up to this point. If you were looking to buy this up above 23.6, a 30 pip stop loss, a 20 pip stop loss, 30 pip take profit could be a trade, but I don't think it'd be a wise trade. I think I'll look for it to move up, look for a possible rejection, and for a sell down again. Very similar to the Kiwi dollar trade. So about 6555. I'm looking for a test and reject. Stop loss about 20 pips. Take profit could go down to 50. Again, like we were saying, very similar to the Kiwi dollar. Okay, I see your question there, Buba, about the euro pound. We'll get to that. Looking for that move. 6555, 20 to 50. 6555, 20 to 50. That's again very similar to what we were looking at yesterday. Okay, again, took out the priority because this again needs to retrace. If, and you can see the way it's moving, if it doesn't retrace, I'll still wait out because it does need to break below 0.65 strongly before we can see any further downside. With the next big support at 6392. Right? Next big support at 6392. And I think that would be a reasonable level. If you wanted something right in the middle of that, nah, I wouldn't have anything in the middle. I think that would be a reasonable support level to aim for. Right? So if it does break strongly to the downside, then you could be looking for that move down about almost 100 pips to the downside. Stop loss would be quite tight at about 20. Right? I think even if you went 6480, 30 pip stop loss, 80 pip take profit would be reasonable as well. But I would love to see a retrace on the Aussie first. Okay. So with that, then looking at the yen, did not trace down before bouncing back up. It went straight up. Hey Farouk, how you doing? So it went straight up to that resistance level of 104 or 140, sorry. It went straight up to 140. Tested 140, broke above slightly. I thought that this was going to be an indication that we might see further upside, but then it retraced back down. At this point, if we do see that dollar strength push up, then we could see the yen push up again. But look at this, it is retracing back down. Looks like it might come to test 103.85. So I think that dollar yen, this level here, Let me just check my trend line. Still works. That's support. That's now support. I hesitate to say that it's going to have further upside potential because there's no big reason why it should do that unless the dollar index finds massive strength. Could retrace. What you could be looking for on the US yen is if, and this is a counter trend trade, right? Because we've seen that big upside on the big uptrend on the US yen. Maybe if it does break below 38.2, which is also that 139, below 139.50, and also if it breaks that trend line, then you could be looking to sell this down. So this is a counter trend trade. This is, possibly if we see that big downside on the dollar index, I wouldn't put my stop loss up there, right? Because it's broken that fib retracement level, you could be looking at a 30. I really don't. As much as based on the technicals, it looked like it could trade down. It looks like a very risky move. It looks like a very risky move with not a lot of payout, right? Because the best it could get to is about 40 pips. So you would be risking about 30 to make 40. Still a positive risk to reward, but I'm not very keen. I wouldn't be very keen on this. So I'll tell you what instead. Maybe what you could be looking for instead is for the US yen to trade down before bouncing back up to that 140 level again. I would prefer that. I would prefer that than to try and sell it down. So what you could be looking for here would be 139, above 139.50. Then you know that 104, 140 dot, almost 140.20 will be a reasonable target. That's about 65 pip to the upside, 30 pip stop loss, 1 to 2 to the upside. I think that would be a reasonable trade. If it pushes up from here, then I would say you could just do shorter term scalping trades up. But I'm looking to see whether it's going to come down, test this level, and bounce back up. So 139.50, 30 pip stop loss, 60 pip, 65 pip, take profit. 139.50, 30 pip stop loss, about a 65 pip, take profit. Jamil with the Aussie Kiwi, we'll do that as well. Okay. Then with that, looking at the pound dollar, I traded down. I was looking for it to test 1.23. It came down, I think, by last night at about that point. I closed out. Right, I closed out at about that point. So the pound dollar actually did work quite nicely for us. It didn't go all the way down to take profit, but it came halfway. So again, some of you did jump onto the pound dollar. Right now, pushing back up. Right now, pushing back up. I would say that the pound dollar looks like it might have some legs to the upside. So what I mean by that is because it is coming very close to that 1.2350 now turned resistance level, it could trade up. And I think that looking at the price action, it looks like price could come up to test this 50% level again. Right? It looks like it could come up to test this 50% level again. Could you be looking to buy this up? I think that it's again a little bit risky. But if you're doing shorter term trades, we could be looking to buy this up towards that 1.2390. Right? So this would be a very short term trade. So maybe by the close of this hour at 1.2360, you would have a 30 pip take profit. You would have a very tight stop loss, 15 pips, 1:2 to the upside there on the pound dollar. Does show that retracement back up. Okay, and also if you did put in the MACD, you'll see that the crossover has happened. It is showing some upside potential, a change in the trend to the upside. So that's also one reason why I think we could see this push up. 50% or 61.8 might make sense. Actually, 61.8 might make a bit more sense at that 1.24 round number resistance level. Okay, so 20 pip stop loss, 40, 50 pip take profit to the upside on the pound dollar. This is again a counter trend trade. So we could be looking at a pound dollar to buy at a 1.2360, 2250. 1.2360. Stop loss 20, take profit 50. There we go. Okay. Then looking, since we were, hey Jude Wonders, good to have you. Since we were looking at the pound dollar and the Aussie dollar, the early request from Spiros was the pound Kiwi. Right, so the pound Kiwi, clear out some of these lines. I've just got too many lines here. Take that away as well. I don't think so. Spiros was saying that he's looking for a sell on the pound Kiwi. I see how you could be expecting a sell given that we've got the big resistance at 2.04. We are expecting the pound dollar to push up. We're just looking at pound dollar, expecting it to push up a little bit. So I think that we might not be ready for a sell. And in fact, I think what will make it a better, possibly a better, stronger selling setup would be if it comes up to test this resistance and show a rejection again. Then you would have a 1 and a 2 top, a double top. And then we could see that downside with the trigger at about this 2029 level. So I would not be ready to sell now. I'll be looking for it to come up, test the resistance, turn down, and then I'll be looking to sell to the downside. Because for now, we are still expecting some pound dollar strength. So I think this could push up. Then looking at the Kiwi, if it does hit this level, push up a little bit, that could counteract the pound Kiwi. But I think that as it drops, then pound dollar could also turn up and turn down again, dragging the pound Kiwi back down. Okay, so not ready to sell yet, but something to look at for slightly later. Then, as Jamil was asking about the Aussie Kiwi, it's going to come back up to this mid-range here. And it's going to find that cap. So I think it'll be wait on the Aussie Kiwi. Ideally, what we'll be looking for is that reaction, right? That reaction on the Aussie Kiwi. If it fails, if it comes up and fails, then we could be looking for that downside on the Aussie Kiwi. So again, not something to enter right now, but I think the main thing will be the price action at 1.0760. If it fails to break, then we might see that downside. All right, Jamil. Then, as we look at the pound dollar and the US yen, US yen showing some resilience, holding that downside, looking like it might test up. Then looking at the pound yen, right? We were looking for this. It didn't happen yesterday. It is right in that range. It's in a very choppy range on the pound yen right now. Hey AYJ, how are you doing? Okay, so with that, I think the pound yen is going to remain within this range. Pound dollar pushing up a little bit, could show some upside on the pound yen, but we're also looking at it possibly, trading up before possibly turning back down again with that dollar strength. So the pound yen, I think, is going to remain trapped between that 172.80 range and also that 172 level. So I think it's going to remain within that range for the interim. Okay, Lydia, that's the first one on the pound yen. Then the euro dollar. Euro dollar, we're expecting that big downside if that push continued down. Didn't happen, so we take that away. Didn't break below 1.07. In fact, it bounced back up. Now again showing some upside retracement, or retracement to the upside. Drawing this right down and looking at the way price is moving, it could come up to this 107.60 level again. Right, so just looking at this, having my lines a little bit more accurately, I think it could trade up to this 1.0760, test this level, and then maybe turn back down again, because we are seeing it form as a good support and possibly now a good resistance level. So what you could be looking for here on the euro dollar is a sell, say 1.0755. Stop loss very tight, no more than 20 pips. Take profit could be down to 40, which is what we saw yesterday's low. Okay, so that's the euro dollar. We're looking to sell 1.0755. 0.0755. Stop loss no more than 20. Take profit down to about 40. Take profit down to about 40 pips. Okay, so that's an idea on the euro dollar. If it does not trade up to that trend line and push down, then the view from yesterday does need to break below 1.07 before we see that downside. But with the way the dollar index, I think it's going to consolidate along this range before possibly pushing back up. That's going to give us maybe a little bit of an upward push. Might not be all the way, but it'll come up a little bit before turning back down. Makes sense so far? If it makes sense, let me know. If it's all good, put it into the chat. Let me know. I haven't lost you guys. Okay. Then with that, I think this is going to work out quite nicely. The euro pound. Euro pound on the H1 time frame. Some cap on that 0.8710 level. Pound dollar pushing up should show me some downside on the euro pound, but euro dollar also pushing back up. I think what you could be looking for on the euro pound would be for it to trade up, and it's going to come up here before turning back down again. Pushing up would be because of the euro dollar pushing the euro pound up, and possibly with that strength, then thinking that it could come back down would be that pound strength dragging the euro pound down. So nothing right now, still waiting for it to move. But I would say I'll look for it to test this 0.87 resistance, 0.8710 resistance level, a rejection, then you could see that downside move. All right, makes sense for you, Buba, on the euro pound. And then onto the euro yen, Lydia was asking. Euro yen had been looking for it to test lower, and so far it hasn't been testing lower. It's been dragged up by the euro dollar. It's been dragged up by the US yen. I would say that for the euro yen, it looks like, I mean, it could continue going up, but given that it's tested and showed some downside, it broke out, but now retracing back down again. What I would be looking for here on the euro yen is if the price could come down to, and it looks like it's doing that, 149.70, right? Then my take profit would be down about 70-80 pips to the downside. Stop loss, I think just above that resistance of 40 pips would be reasonable. So 149.70, about 40 pip stop loss, about 80 pip take profit to the downside for the euro yen. And it is moving right now. Just hang on, wait for the candle to close, especially if it closes like that. It's going to show a strong pin bar on that resistance level, going to signal further confirmation for that downside. Thanks for that, Ola. Thank you, Spiros. Thank you, M Leader. Then, so I'm looking at the dollar index still sitting right across. I think the yen is dropping. That's why we're seeing the euro yen pushing down, and we possibly will be seeing this push down as well, the pound yen push down as well. So it might just come down, test this level, and bounce back up again. If it does break below 172, then you could be looking for that downside move on the pound yen. Okay, so it needs to break below 172 and be very similar to what we've seen over the last couple of times. 171.95. Stop loss about 45 pips. Take profit about 60 pips to the downside. All good, all good. Fantastic. Then the US Swiss franc. The Swizzy did not trigger that buy trade to the upside, did not move high enough, so take that away. Right now showing that downside potential, driven possibly by some weakness in the dollar index, and possibly that euro dollar showing a little bit of an upward push, US Swiss franc trading lower, right in the middle. I feel like I've just said this yesterday. I was right there. So I think right in the middle of that support and resistance level, I would best advise, if you were even trying to sell this down, then you would only have about a 30 pip take profit your stop loss at best would be 20 pips. I don't think this would be worth that risk. I would say wait it out. Let's see what happens on the US Swiss franc. Is it going to trade down to that support and bounce back up? Okay, so wait it out on the US Swiss franc. Possibly no trade for now. I think I said that for the US CAD. Yes. I'll say wait for reaction to the support. Then onto the US CAD, the loonie. We were talking about this yesterday, saying that looking for it to either come down to test before pushing up again. That did not happen, but it did actually at that 1.36 level pushed up towards that resistance of 1.3650. So it did move up and found that resistance level, and you can see that at this point, right, it does test a couple of times. It does have a fake breakout. It comes close, but from this level, we do generally see a big push to the downside when it clearly rejects the move. So what you could be looking for here is 23.6 is going to be crucial, right? So it does need to break below this point, and then you could be in a technical view, purely technical view, you could be looking to sell down 30, 40 pip stop loss, 80 pip take profit to the downside. Why I'm sighing and hesitating a little bit is because we are looking at the dollar pushing down, but if it doesn't sustain this downward push, it could bounce back up, which means that this could trade down a little bit before pushing back up. So I think that downward move could be possible, but it's possibly very likely that we're going to see the US CAD trading between this range. I would say that if it breaks down from 23.6, we could see it trade down to that previous swing level, which is 1.3568. However, I would prefer to try and see whether that dollar strength could push the US CAD up a little bit, but that's too little. How about this point here? See its previous swing point there. So if it does trade up, then you could be looking 1.3660. Stop loss, take profit, almost 40 pips. Stop loss, 20 pips. I don't like it either way. I think they're more like it could just trade down, but it's not a trade that I would highly recommend. So I would stay with that same view on the US CAD to stay a little bit neutral. Hey FX mummies, good to have you on the stream. Do join up. Do make sure you tune in more often. My pound setup, pound dollar setup, we are looking for a stronger retrace to the upside, especially if it breaks above that 1.2350 or 55 level. Looking for it to test that 50 or even 61.8 pip retracement level, or that 1.24 round number resistance level. Okay. Then lucky last, the gold. Right, yesterday we were talking about it, saying we could retrace to 1970. At that point, it didn't retrace. Right, because of that dollar strength, we saw it trade strongly to the downside, breaking the 1954 level down to 1936. Right now, looking like again push to the upside. It all depends on what the dollar index is doing. It's showing that downside potential, but it might be limited downside potential. So I think that again, um, gold might, let me see, gold might come up to this 50% level. It's near, it's getting close, but I think it could come up to this point before turning back down again. Right? So look for it to complete its retrace, but I'll be looking for a continuation of that downtrend or that brief downtrend. I'd say look for completion of retracement, sell below 1954. Right? Sell below 1954. Okay. Oh, and if it doesn't retrace like that, if it just trades straight down, then again, that will make it a lot easier. You could be looking to sell down from 1954, but I think it's a little bit early now. Might show that continuation up before trading back down. Okay, dollar index still pushing down. Kiwi dollar, again, not moving in correlation to the dollar index, so that's a little bit peculiar. Aussie dollar still sitting right across. I would not think, I would update this and say that maybe Aussie dollar might not trade up. So it might have found that 23.6 as a resistance. Might find a bit of a top there to push down. You could be looking to sell 6490, stop loss 20, big downside potential of about 90. So let's update that. 6490, stop loss 20, take profit at about 90 pips. Okay. You don't think dollar index heading for 106? I don't think you head to 106 anytime soon, unless we get some massive deal on the debt ceiling over the weekend. But I don't think you'll get there anytime soon. Okay. US yen trading down, testing this level, still holding that analysis. Pound dollar looking at it's pushing up. So you see that the Kiwi and the Aussie is not moving in relation to, not in correlation with the dollar index, while the pound dollar is moving quite nicely. Look for the hour to close. This could be a quick trade to the upside. Euro dollar also pushing up. So that's moving in correlation with the dollar index. BZ trading down strongly, looking for it to test that support level. And the Loonie looking for it to break below before we're going to see that downside potential. Alrighty. Good morning, Godfrey. I can look at the US 30. I was just about to jump off. So yes, we can do US 30. It is in that range. It is in that range. I don't see it doing anything too crazy. I think that it's likely to possibly remain within this level. Right? So I think that in a tighter range, it looks like it could stay between 32,815 and 32,615. But in the wider range, it will be between 32,980 and 32,615. Okay, so I think that it's going to stay within this range unless we see some massive breakout on the dollar index. All right. So again, guys, if you haven't already, do make sure you join the trading community. The link is there for you. And also remember that it is Friday. We are heading into the weekend. We are possibly going to see a retracement, some deeper retracements. So just be extra careful if you're trading. If you don't have any big trades for today, don't feel like you have to rush into any trades. Monday next week looks like I should be taking a holiday because everyone else is on a holiday. Should we do a session on Monday? I'm opening this out to a vote. Should we do a session on Monday? What's with Monday? Okay, so the question now is, answer that in the training community. Should we do it on Monday? Because that's going to be quiet. And then we do have CPI numbers next week for the Aussies, GDP for the CADs, employment numbers and non-farm payrolls onto next Friday. Okay, so we'll look into that for next week. So Monday is going to be quiet. Do let me know if we think we should do that. If not, then trade well, trade safe. I'll see you all next week. See you all in the trading community and also next week on the stream. So take care for now. Bye bye.